You've been given signs, clear, undeniable warnings, but you've chosen to look the other way, waiting for clarity when the truth has already been shown. God is not pleased because He knows your potential and the great calling over your life. The path you're on is filled with divine purpose, yet every time you hesitate, every time you doubt yourself, you allow others to take advantage of what was meant to be yours. God has been protecting you, guiding you, and preparing you for what's coming next. The question is, will you answer the call, or will you continue to let fear hold you back? The warnings you ignore now are the very keys to unlocking your destiny. Stop doubting. Stop delaying. Stop giving space to those who seek to distract you. People who believed they could determine your value have undervalued, ignored, and attacked you. They don't know who they're dealing with, however. Let me tell you that. You are not just any individual. You are selected, strengthened, and protected by powers others cannot even fathom. Every obstacle they attempted to put in your way served as fuel for your eventual triumph. You are the evidence that no one can remove what was destined for you by God, the light they could never put out, and the storm they never saw coming. Therefore, take pride in the fact that now is your chance to ascend, regain your authority, and demonstrate to the world why you are unstoppable. The moves weren't just careless mistakes. They were well-planned blows that were expertly delivered to undermine your stability. With crafty perseverance, they targeted your resources, but each time they tried to take anything from you, it served as an anchor that pulled their plans farther and further away from success. Let this be the moment you stop ignoring what God has been showing you. Trust in His warnings and move forward boldly. Your light will not just survive, it will shine brighter than ever. They wove in a web of bad luck against your health, but the strands of their evil turned around to tie their own life. They wanted to break your will, but now their own goals are imprisoned in the wreckage of their intentions. Every action has resonance, reverberating back to its origin via invisible currents. They released a power that did not dissipate. Rather, it rushed back, amplified by the aim. Malice works like a river, carrying its carrier downstream. Thus the evil they intended outward recirculated as an unavoidable tide. Their perception of you as a weak enemy disintegrated as your hardships made you stronger and more resilient, and they unintentionally created their own demise. Your fortitude was evidence of the unavoidable cycles of justice rather than retribution. The darkness cannot overpower the light which shines in it. Imagine a candle burning steadily in a pitch-black chamber while the shadows close in on it. John 15. That's you, an untouchable, immovable light of divine purpose that is influenced by the plots of those who would do you harm. Regardless of how well thought out their attempts were, they were like hands attempting to extinguish the flame only to burn themselves in the process. With an uncontrollable power, everything they unleashed to destroy you came full circle. With unrelenting accuracy, the instruments of their evil turned against them and proved to be their downfall. Instead of waning gradually, their vigor abruptly collapsed. Trapped in the maze of their options, their aspirations were crushed under the weight of the same turmoil they called forth. They had to confront the indisputable fact that they were selected, protected, and triumphant. Instead of a dramatic collapse, their demise starts with a subtle unraveling as the once unbreakable foundation of their lives crumbles in front of them. The empty remains of their power are all that remain once the position they held to so tenaciously crumbles like sand seeping through clenched hands. Each thread of deceit unravels into nothingness as the illusions they created vanish. They struggle with the emptiness they created as their riches, which they accumulated by illicit means, crumbles as if it were swallowed by an invisible abyss. What they perceived as their victory turns out to be their downfall as the forces they attempted to control reappear and seek restitution with ruthless accuracy. Once regarded as a masterpiece, the web of their plots ends up becoming the same trap that traps them. They wove in the threads of their own downfall in their quest to plan the destruction of another. The prison that is currently closing in on them was created by every plan, action, and step that was done with malice and conceit. Their destructive instruments became dust in their hands, leaving them open to the inevitable fallout from their actions. Now, the balance they rejected has them in its steadfast, unbiased grasp, bringing about the justice they so badly want to evade. Their demise is a reckoning, a mirror reflecting the weight of their own goal, rather than just a tragedy. When people who are motivated by the same greed and hatred get together, their common desire turns into a power that they think will protect them from the consequences of their deeds. They plot in secret, muttering strategies they believe would work, combining their poison into one goal to destroy what they cannot claim as their own. Their cooperation seems powerful, as if their victory would be certain if they multiplied their objectives. However, they fail to recognize a basic reality. The more destructive the outcomes, the larger the collective purpose. The weight of their collective deeds builds up like a storm cloud, ominous and harsh, poised to explode with merciless ferocity. Their deceitful collaboration ends up becoming their downfall. Although their solidarity simply ties them to a common downfall, they see power in numbers. Their brittle facade is scattered as the energy they projected outward bounces with relentless speed. The web of their lies thickens as it spirals, entangling everyone and leaving no one unaffected. As reckoning arrives, it rips through their community without distinction, shredding their ties like a tidal wave. They built their home with ambition and falsehoods, yet such a building was certain to collapse under the weight of its own design. A series of betrayals resulted from the initial breach in their fragile partnership, which was kept together by fear and self-interest. Their once coordinated endeavor descended into chaos as each member's attempt to flee only served to accelerate the other's demise. Ultimately, the very brittleness of the bonds they believed to be impenetrable tore them apart rather than an outside force. They were forced to confront the inevitable consequences of their conduct as what had started as a unified front descended into infighting and despair. Reach your full potential, sign up right now, and together, let's create something really remarkable. Their intended buried facts emerged like echoes in a hollow room as the murmur turned into a cacophony. The plots they developed became into internal daggers that severed the ties that had previously bound their shaky union. Betrayal festered as desperation grew. In a vain effort to avoid the repercussions of their plan, each of them set the other aside, but the reckoning was inevitable. Under a relentless glare, their covert motivations were revealed, shattering their unity. The identical power they sent forth changed direction and devoured them with an uncontrollable intensity. Their greatest vulnerability, which they mistaken for strength, came apart in a maelstrom of distrust and retaliation. Justice works with unrelenting accuracy, destroying whatever it comes into contact with without bias or delay. They created a tie they were unable to break when they joined forces with chaos, a debt that required complete repayment. The equilibrium of the cosmos is unwavering. It cuts cleanly, avoiding any collaborator. Collective energy functions as a firestorm that, when used maliciously, spreads out of control and consumes everything in its path. However, they misjudged its nature, not realizing that the same power would turn against them with greater consequences. Their biggest mistake was thinking they were in charge, because darkness has no master. It left behind nothing but ashes after devouring both its prey and its summoners. Their plans, which were based on mutual distrust and self-serving ambition, were as precarious as a mansion constructed on sand. They thought they were powerful because of their united efforts, but darkness feeds on its own creators and goes inward by nature. Their partnership was destroyed from within as the havoc they caused reflected their aims. Instead of dominating, the powers they called out ate them up one by one, shattering their tenuous union. And harsh warning that ruin breeds destruction, their treachery became their mirror. What they sown in shadows came back to occupy its rightful place according to the unwavering laws of cosmic equilibrium. They became slaves of the exact chaos they unleashed in their pursuit of control. They were obsessed with your energy, a force they were unable to duplicate or understand. Its vibration reverberated on a level in harmony with greater truth, beyond their grasp. Your presence revealed their shadows, shedding light on the flimsy underpinnings of their schemes. It was your easy alignment that most enraged them. The fact that the gifts you got came to you organically rather than via coercion is evidence of the alignment between your goal and the invisible forces that are directing you. They were envious of how your life turned out, free from the force they used. However, the cost of their desire was high, since evil powers demanded repayment that was much above their means. They thought they could bargain for the quality that makes you unique, so they looked for what was never theirs to claim. They want the spark of divinity that animates you, not just your abilities or accomplishments. The greed of people who overshoot and pay high prices was reflected in their efforts to seize and take advantage of it. They overlooked an unchangeable rule in their attempt to manage what was sacred. Nothing can break anything that is obligated to a greater purpose. Because the cost of interfering with the divine always surpasses the bounds of desire, the energy they attempted to acquire ultimately proved to be their downfall. As their own shadows engulfed them, the light they aimed to destroy only became stronger. Their desire turned into their downfall. It was a burden they couldn't handle and a thirst they couldn't satisfy. Because they had nothing to contribute of equivalent worth, and the cosmos required restitution for their sins, they unwittingly sacrificed their whole being. Their desired possession was far out of their grasp, shielded by powers they didn't comprehend or value. Ignorant of the divine essence that protects them, they simply saw the splendor of your gifts and mistakenly believed they were jewels to be taken. They were unaware that what you carry is an unwavering bond to something timeless, selected, and unshakable rather than a treasure to be gained. They stumbled into their own abyss while pursuing your light. Only you were destined to wear the cloak of your luminosity, which is evidence of your mission. They attempted to claim it as like it were a prize, but the immensity of their avarice overcame them when they were forced to face the responsibilities. They unleashed powers they couldn't control in their endeavor to enter your refuge. Their desired power turned against them, completely engulfing them and leaving only ashes as a remnant of their ambition. Justice is steadfast in its accuracy. They lost all they had intended to become and were left with nothing but the remains of their empire, which was burned by the fire they tried to capture. It was a rapid, quiet, but final reckoning. They were judged by the actions they attempted to hide, rather than by their intentions as they stood before the invisible forces of truth. Envy and dishonesty weighed more on their hearts than the forces of harmony they sought to oppose. Their relentless acts were a reflection of the equilibrium they aimed to upset. They were forced to confront an unavoidable reality as a result of their corruption. Their time was finished, their aspirations disintegrated, and the forces they aroused stood as a witness to the justice they wanted to evade. They were left to face the repercussions of their own actions, but the verdict was precise rather than harsh. It's time to spread the benefits of God. You may participate in His plan and this holy purpose by pressing the super thank you button on YouTube. Every contribution, whether it be $100 or more, is a reflection of God's generosity, and I think it will be returned to you in ways that are much greater than you could have imagined. Never forget that His blessings and protection are with you at every turn. You become a part of His divine purpose with each gift. You are a powerful, dazzling being that is as unbreakable as His powerful rock. Feel the benefits of your giving in your spirit as you see God work marvels. Light up the world with bravery and self-assurance. Enjoy your blessings and follow the Lord's light. The covert things they did have come to light. Buried under layers of shadows and deceit, the truth suddenly emerges unbidden and reverberates like an indisputable beat. The weight of their shame could not be concealed by any facade. It reverberates, a quiet power that intensifies with each second. Their crimes, formerly veiled, now throw a bright light on their sinister aims. What they carried, envy, dishonesty, and malice, has become their own judge and jury, driving them toward a reckoning they cannot avoid. Such weight has no place in the cosmos. The justice they called for with their own hands is delivered, tipping the scales. Darkness is inherently unrelenting. Those who call it forth, thinking of themselves as its master, are drawn into a force that doesn't accept allegiance, contracts, or compassion. Although they think they are in charge and have a solid grip on the shadows, darkness has no allies. It eats without discrimination, and anyone who attracts it are only food for its ravenous hunger. Their use of power proved to be their downfall. They were its first victims, cast aside as useless instruments in their quest to control disaster. Only traces of their ambition remained when what they believed they could control twisted its fangs inward and fed on their conceit. Don't be shy. Accept your potential. Let's ignite the future together by subscribing today. Their anger was directed against them by the same forces they planned to use against you. Chaos is a two-edged current that may pierce both its source and its victim. What they summoned was uncontrollable, and when the strands of their schemes came undone, they found themselves exposed and depleted by the same force they were trying to control. They miscalculated the nature of the uncontrolled power they thought they could bind. The same instability they believed they could control has now destroyed their lives. As an ally, darkness never stays. It consumes, leaving behind just echoes and nothingness. They miscalculated the strength of your light, and because you are still untouchable, their downfall was inevitable. You must condemn every mouth that rises in judgment against you and ensure that no weapon created against you succeeds. Isaiah 54:17. Consider a lighthouse that is unwavering in the face of a violent storm, its light unflinching against the breaking seas. That is who you are, divinely rooted, unwavering, and radiant with a light that no storm of evil can smother. People that rebel against you are like the ocean, pounding on a rock in the hopes that their tenacity would eventually wear it down. Instead, they discover that the same power they believed they could control has fractured, dispersed, and eaten them. You are encircled by an impenetrable fortress that was constructed by the Almighty, not by humans. It is a shield made of heavenly promises that is more brilliant than gold and sturdy than steel. Like arrows colliding with an imperceptible barrier, every plan and scheme they devise against you disintegrates before it ever reaches you and falls to the ground without causing any damage. Their poison, their hatred, and their want to destroy you are helpless against the defense that is all around you. Their intended hurt has been transformed into a shield that reflects their strikes back into them with an unexpected ferocity. Those who formerly engaged in covert conspiracy are now ensnared in the web they created. Their previously audacious goals have grown to be too much for them to handle. They believed that their guile and machinations could defeat the invincible, that they could outsmart almighty force. However, the reality is that their attempts have only resulted in turmoil and uncertainty. Tormented by the repercussions of their acts, they now reside in the prison they created for themselves. Their thoughts are now filled with remorse and anxiety, rather than strategy and desire. The hefty cost of their transgressions has robbed them of their sleep, and they can hear the weight of their shame in the stillness of the night. All of their plans have backfired. The weight of treachery has now destroyed every link they created out of malice. The connections they believed would give them power suddenly fall apart, and they see opponents where none exist. The price they paid for calling out the darkness was unknown to them. They were never able to command the troops they planned to use. They are being consumed like an unquenchable fire by what they attempted to unleash on you. Their resentment, jealousy, and rage have turned into the tools that will destroy them. They polished a sword for you, and now it slashes through their power, their togetherness, and their goals. But you, the selected one, stay unaltered. You are a real example of the effectiveness of divine protection and evidence that God has kept His promises. You not only make it through, but you flourish, becoming stronger and taller than before. You've climbed where they wanted you to fall. There is only beauty where they want to see ashes. Because it is not of this world, the light that shines inside you is brighter than their darkest plots and cannot be quenched. Let their demise serve as a reminder of this reality. No assault on the selected will win, and no scheme against the upright can succeed. Your mission is unstoppable, your inheritance is everlasting, and your destiny is safe. You stand firmly in the unwavering stronghold of divine favor, and you are not only safe, but triumphant. Knowing that every storm has only made the strength of the rock under your feet more apparent, now is the moment to walk in your might. Their loss was inevitable from the beginning. Each stage of their scheme was a strand in a web that would eventually catch them. They saw you crushed under the weight of their plans, shattered, alone, and defeated. In order to see how the weights they imposed on you sapped your soul and extinguished your brightness, they attempted to take your vitality. However, their conceit prevented them from seeing the reality. They could never penetrate the power that protected what they sought to destroy. Unaffected by their evil, the core of your mission remained unwavering, transforming every act of hate into the seeds of their own destruction. Now is your time. Let's make dreams come true by subscribing right now. They tried to hurt you, but it was as pointless as hurling stones at an implacable mountain. They were unable to perceive or defeat the unseen force that stopped every ounce of hatred and every well-planned strike. Their attempts were turned into echoes by the protective barrier that surrounded you, which returned their poison with pinpoint accuracy. Instead of entangling you, traps ended up becoming a source of their own demise. You persevered under the direction of an unwavering purpose rather than by chance. You are protected by a force that is beyond of their grasp, making you more than just powerful. They discovered resiliency where they had expecting to find devastation. They saw you rise where they hoped you would fall. The fact that their plans failed is evidence of the forces working in your favor. Their attempts were unsuccessful, not due to carelessness, but rather because the barrier protecting you was impervious to malicious intent. Unable to defeat the strength that envelops you, the force they summoned against you vanished like mist before the rising light. Every effort to undermine you simply exposed their shortcomings. Their plans were disassembled long before they could be implemented, and their machinations fell apart the instant they were created. This was not a fair fight. Nothing they could do could overcome the might of the invisible forces that keep you going. Therefore, the defeat was inevitable. They didn't understand that their evil was insignificant in the face of a fate strengthened by something far bigger than themselves. Their attempts vanished before they could establish themselves, like shadows on water. They were battling against something too big for them to understand, not against you. Nothing could change what had already been written. No plan, no move. It wasn't a mistake that caused them to slip and fall. Steps, but rather because their conceit prevented them from seeing how helpless they really were. Their acts merely helped to confirm the fact that you cannot be affected. Thus, their failure was certain, since the barrier that surrounds you is unchangeable. Experience what it's really like to be selected. On this trip, you are not traveling alone. You're at the proper spot if you secretly believe that you've been selected. By selecting the join option, you may advance your relationship with us, have access to exclusive information, and get the help you need on your spiritual journey. This is about gaining access to special insights that may change your life and help you get closer to your divine purpose, not simply about joining a group. Make the decision now and join us on this trip. Join today to claim your spot among the selected. Every unsuccessful effort to harm you is indisputable evidence of the divine power around you, an invisible force protecting you. Armed with jealousy and hatred, they devised schemes to destroy you, but each one fell apart before it could accomplish its goal. Their plans disintegrated like sand between their fingers, leaving only the proof of their inadequacy. This was no accident. It was about striking the right balance so that what was supposed to hurt you really fueled your development. What they sought to destroy actually strengthened you, making every act of hate a springboard for further victories. Even while resistance used to hang over you like an unbeatable storm, each challenge they put in your path simply made you more determined. What they meant to be obstacles turned into motivators that helped you get closer to your goals. The things they feared would shatter you became the cornerstone of your rise. This is how divine justice works. It transforms in addition to protecting. Every obstacle they put in your path has a corresponding and opposing reward that is just waiting to happen. What they planned to steal turned into a sacrifice for your advancement, evidence of the unwavering basis of your mission and the unstoppable force of your fate. There was never any doubt about your win. They tried to negotiate for power in the hopes of exchanging their short-lived goals for an unfathomable goal, but their schemes were always doomed to fail. They were never able to get what they desired because it was guarded by a power that they could neither challenge nor bargain with. Their frantic and flimsy plans fell apart under the weight of uncontrollable forces. The assurance of your unwavering course destroyed their malice, and each trap they constructed served as the ladder that lifted you higher. You don't care about their demise. You continue to concentrate on the heights you are meant to achieve. Every hardship and trial has only strengthened you, bringing to light the blessings all around you and guaranteeing that your mission will always be unstoppable. They use every weapon at their disposal to fight, but their attempts are doomed to fail. Their armaments were made useless by forces beyond their knowledge, guaranteeing their defeat before the battle had started. Your mission is based on an unchangeable edict and an eternal order that cannot be undone, not on human plans. For a little time, their power may have seemed to be powerful, but it was overthrown by the weight of justice, and what was intended to hurt you became your triumph. You are evidence that no matter how strongly darkness attempts to approach, light cannot be put out. Where they attempted to weaken you, you triumph with unparalleled power. Their failure is only a reflection of the futility of their plans and a shadow of the abundance all around you. What they believed to be your downfall ended up becoming the source of your success. You chose a path that puts you beyond their grasp, whereas they were consumed by their own avarice and hatred. Their demise serves as a reminder that no act of malice can override a fate that was predetermined by divine will, not a loss. As their roots fade into obscurity, life and plenty flow through you, unwavering and dazzling. Your victory is the announcement of something far bigger than survival. Every stride you take ahead is evidence of the strength that protects you, a light so bright that hatred and jealousy cannot dull it. Your tale serves as a lighthouse and a roadmap for others to see the limitless power of invisible forces at your side.